Hello everyone. The topic for today's lecture is biology of tooth movement. Now, orthodontics deals with treatment of malocclusion, and malocclusion is corrected by the movement of teeth to their natural or correct positions. And this occurs due to the presence of the periodontal ligament because when force is applied to the teeth, then areas of tension or pressure are formed in the bone. And since the PDL is very important for the orthodontic tooth movement to take place, it is known as the bed of orthodontic tooth movement. So a viable PDL is a must for tooth movement, whereas in ankylosed teeth, no tooth movement can occur. Now coming to the classification of tooth movement, physiologic tooth movement, pathologic tooth movement, and orthodontic tooth movement. These are the three types of tooth movement which can take place. In physiologic tooth movement, we have eruption of the teeth, which is a normal physiologic process, and it is the movement of the teeth in the axial direction from its developmental position in the jaws to its final position in the oral cavity. Physiologic drifting is also a natural process which refers to the change in tooth position observed after complete eruption of the teeth, as the human dentition has a natural tendency to move in a mesial and occlusal direction due to the wear at the occlusal contacts as well as the interproximal contacts during function, that is mastication. Now, in order to maintain the occlusal and interproximal contacts, there is compensatory continuous eruption as well as mesial migration. Then, changes which take place during tooth position during mastication is also a physiologic tooth movement. The natural biting force during mastication varies from 10 newtons to 600 newtons. When this force is applied, fluid is squeezed out from the periodontal ligament and the tooth is displaced within the PDL, compressing the ligament against the adjacent bone on one side. And when this force is removed, the tooth returns to its normal position. Pathologic tooth movement occurs whenever there is any pathology like a tumor or cyst or any periodontal disease which causes the tooth to move. Coming to orthodontic tooth movement. It is made possible when prolonged, sustained forces are applied, even though they may be of a low magnitude. When they are applied on the teeth, only then tooth movement takes place. Three theories which are majorly present explain orthodontic tooth movement, that is the pressure tension theory, the fluid dynamic theory, and the bone bending theory. The pressure tension theory was given by Schwartz in 1932 and it is the classical theory of OTM. It is the simplest and most widely accepted theory. It relies on chemical signals rather than electric signals as the stimulus for cellular differentiation and tooth movement. So whenever a tooth is subjected to orthodontic force, it results in areas of pressure and tension. The area of the periodontium in the direction of tooth movement is under pressure or compression, and the area of periodontium opposite to the direction of tooth movement is under tension and the PDL is stretched. On the pressure or compression side, there is alteration in the blood flow. Blood flow decreases. There is fall in oxygen tension, which leads to changes in the chemical environment which stimulates cellular differentiation and the activity of osteoclasts, thereby resulting in bone resorption in this area of pressure. On the tension side, there is again alteration in the blood supply and here the blood flow increases, with a rise in oxygen tension, which again leads to changes in the chemical environment which stimulate cellular differentiation. But here there is activity of the osteoblasts and bone deposition takes place. So to summarize the pressure tension theory, whenever there is sustained pressure, there is alteration in blood flow, change in oxygen level, and release of certain chemicals which stimulate cellular differentiation, leading to bone resorption and deposition on the pressure and tension side, which results in tooth movement. Then the second theory is the fluid dynamic theory, which was given by Bein in 1966. According to him, orthodontic tooth movement occurs as a result of alteration in the fluid dynamics in the periodontal ligament. Now, as PDL is a confined space, passage of fluids in and out is limited, and it behaves like a viscoelastic gel which flows when subjected to steady force and bounces when a load is briefly applied and removed. On application of pressure for a short momentary duration like in mastication, fluid escapes from the tiny vascular channels of the PDL, and on removal of the force, the fluid comes back through diffusion from the capillary walls and the tooth remains stable. So when there is application of orthodontic force, there is compression of PDL on the pressure side and depletion of fluid as the extracellular fluid passes from the PDL into the marrow spaces through the foramina in the cribriform plate, and the blood vessels get compressed, leading to a change in the chemical environment, decreased oxygen tension, and bone resorption. Then the third theory of the bone bending theory given by Baumrind in 1969. He relates tooth movement to change in the bone metabolism controlled by the electric signals that are produced when the alveolar bone flexes and bends. It is based on the bone bending concept of Farrar given in 1888, who said that a small electric current is generated when bone is mechanically deformed. So Baumrind stated that compression of the alveolar and medullary cortical plates, they move closer and the bone becomes convex, which is associated with a positive charge leading to resorption. So according to him, whenever force is applied on the tooth, both the alveolar and the medullary cortical plates, they move closer and the bone becomes convex, and the convex surface is associated with positive charge leading to bone resorption, as opposed to the pressure tension theory where positive sign indicates deposition and negative indicates resorption. But in this is the charge. Positive indicates positive charge associated with resorption, and negative or the concave side, which occurs on the tension surface, causes bone deposition. So, whenever the alveolar bone bends, there is deformation of the crystalline structure, causing electrical signals to be produced, which cause change in the bone metabolism and cellular differentiation, leading to tooth movement. Now, bone bending causes stress-generated electric signals of two classes: piezoelectricity and streaming potentials. Piezoelectricity is a phenomena which is observed in many crystalline materials, in which a deformation of the crystal structure produces a flow of current as electrons are displaced from one part of the crystal lattice to another. Now, the mineral content of bone in hydroxyapatite crystals as well as collagen matrix exist in crystallized state, and they exhibit these piezoelectric properties. The mucopolysaccharides or ground substance, though non-crystalline in nature, can also generate piezoelectricity when deformed. What are the characteristics of piezoelectric signals? These signals are generated by crystalline structures. When a crystal is deformed due to application of force, electrons migrate from one location to another, resulting in an electric current. When the force is released, the crystals return to its original shape and a reverse flow of electrons is seen, which is known as reverse piezoelectricity. Hence, a rhythmic activity would produce a constant interplay of electric signals, whereas occasional application and release of force would produce only occasional electric signals. So there is a quick decay rate, that is, piezoelectric signals created in response to force quickly reaches zero though the force is continuously maintained. So role of piezoelectric signals in orthodontic tooth movement is not established, as forces in orthodontics are continuous and not rhythmic in nature. Streaming potentials is the second type of electric signals which can occur. According to this, fluids bathe the living bone and the ions contained in these fluids interact and produce current as the bone bends. This results in temperature changes as well as formation of electric signals in the extracellular fluid. Small voltages are observed which are called streaming potential and are responsible for the cellular activation in tooth movement. Drawbacks: direct relation between electric potential and cellular activation seems unlikely, as higher potentials were seen in dentine, but remodeling is not seen in dentine in response to mechanical forces. So, the most acceptable theory of orthodontic tooth movement, none of the theories are incompatible or mutually exclusive. It appears that combined mechanisms, that is, release of chemical mediators and bioelectric signals, may play a part in the biologic control of tooth movement. Thank you.